Hello everyone, welcome to Live from Abuja. Of course, we're reaching you from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja.
And this week we have lots of interesting events from across the world involving politics, entertainment, sports, business, you name it. We're bringing all that on this show.
Of course, take a seat and enjoy the show. I am Ademola Lawrence.
I am Jane Francis Mweze.
Okay, we're going to start a story and, of course, the show from the federal government to reach an agreement with the government of United Arab Emirates to lift the visa restrictions on Nigerian passport holders, permitting Nigerian passport holders to obtain visas for travel to the UAE from July 15, 2024. This follows successful talks and extensive negotiations between the UAE and Nigeria, resulting in updated controls and conditions for obtaining a UAE visa.
Today, an agreement has been reached on that, and effective from today, 15th of July, Nigerian passport holders are able to obtain visas to go to the United Arab Emirates. Details of that will, of course, be provided to you later today when we put out a press statement on that. But I can tell you that that agreement has been reached, and effective from today, those intending to travel to the Nigerian passport holders intending to travel to the United Arab Emirates are able to do so.
Economic experts have welcomed the president's move as a step that could reverse negative economic trends. One of the immediate benefits of the visa ban reversal is the enhancement of bilateral relations between Nigeria and the UAE. The removal of travel restrictions sends a powerful signal of goodwill, fostering greater diplomatic cooperation between the two nations. This can pave the way for more robust trade agreements and collaborations on various fronts, from energy to technology.
And for Nigerian entrepreneurs and business, the UAE has long been an attractive destination for investment with its booming economy, strategic location, and business-friendly environment. The UAE offers a host of opportunities for growth and expansion. Now, if Nigerians can travel freely to the UAE, these opportunities become even more accessible. Interesting.
Very interesting, looking at the stories that also came out from this discussion during the week. I mean, sometimes it looks like the FG tries to do something good and then people just find a way to make it really a funny incident. And then we move on from there. The National Assembly will be ready on Tuesday to receive the new minimum wage bill that will be sent by President Bola Tinubu. At last, after several meetings between Organised Labour and the federal government, the president can now send the new minimum wage bill to the National Assembly for its approval. The journey to a final agreement puts an end to months of hard-knock negotiations.
The Minimum Wage Act of 2019, which made 30,000 naira the least pay for workers in Nigeria, expired in April 2024. By law, the act should be reviewed every 5 years to meet with contemporary economic demands of workers. The removal of subsidy in May 2023 led to a rise in cost of commodities, and transportation was not excluded. The citizens cried, and Organised Labour threatened a showdown as it called for a review of the minimum wage. Agitations for a new wage for workers began immediately. Government staved off workers' anger as some of its appointees met with Organised Labour even before ministers were appointed in August 2023. By January 2024, President Bola Tinubu inaugurated a 37-member tripartite committee to negotiate a new minimum wage for workers. The committee comprises representatives of federal government and states on one hand, as well as the private sector and Organised Labour on the other. It took a while before the committee began its sitting, and Organised Labour kicked. It accused government of buying time and exposing workers to hardship. the Nigeria Labour Congress went to the committee with a demand of 794,000 naira, while the Trade Union Congress tabled 497,000 naira as minimum wage. On Wednesday, 15th May, the first major meeting on minimum wage ended in a stalemate as the workers rejected government's offer of 48,000 naira. A week after, on the 22nd of May, Labour turned down government's offer of 54,000 naira. Another deadlock on the 28th of May as the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress rejected government's 60,000 naira minimum wage. They argued that the proposed 60,000 naira was a far cry from what workers require to cope with the rising cost of commodities, including transportation and cost of living. Then, Organised Labour resolved to embark on a nationwide protest. It gave the government May 31st to conclude all deliberations on the new minimum wage or risk strike. On June 3rd, both trade unions began a national strike over the tripartite committee's failure to agree on a new minimum wage and hike in electricity tariffs. President Bola Tinubu's commitment of a wage higher than 60,000 naira led to the suspension of the industrial action as Organised Labour returned to the negotiation table. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, led the talks.
His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR is committed to a national minimum wage that is higher than 60,000. The tripartite committee is to meet every day for the next 1 week with a view to arriving at an agreeable national minimum wage.
The appropriate organs are the only people that can suspend the strike, not these people standing here. So when we take all these things to the organs, if they so decide, it will be suspended.
You could see that in the agreement, there's a commitment that they will do much more than, higher than the 60,000, using the exact words in the agreement.
Labour had agreed to come back to negotiating table with the understanding that the president has been reached and is committed to making sure that the new minimum wage negotiation is concluded.
You can't stop a nation from moving for 24 hours or for 12 hours and think that everything will be normal. I think the loss is not quantifiable for now, but I do also know that we need to recover.
On the 7th of June, the government and organized private sector agreed to 62,000 naira, while Labour insisted on 250,000 naira. Nigerian workers, through their leaders, insisted on earning a living wage as against a slave wage. In the midst of these negotiations, state governors grumbled. They advised that every state be allowed to pay its workers in line with its financial strength. They want minimum wage removed from the exclusive to the concurrent list. But Labour won't hear anything of such. It believes every state can pay workers living wage if the wastes in government are cut off. The resolution of the tripartite committee moved all eyes to President Bola Tinubu, who was expected to send a bill to the National Assembly on a new wage. Desirous to avoid another stalemate, President Bola Tinubu engaged in further consultations with Organised Labour before the bill on a new wage is sent to the Parliament. Thursday's agreement to 70,000 naira new minimum wage paves the way for the executive to dispatch the new minimum wage bill to the National Assembly. Already, government has assured workers it will pay backlog of their salaries for May 2024. With less than 2 million of the nation's population as government workers, the private sector remains the greatest employer of labor. In times past, the organized private sector failed to implement the new minimum wage, and with a biting inflation of about 34%, epileptic power supply, and rising cost of materials, workers in the private sector can only hope that they will heave a sigh of relief with the pains they bear in the face of rising economic hardship. The Tinubu government.
Joining us live in the studio is the founder of the Love of Christ Generation Church, Reverend Esther Ajayi. Good morning.
Good morning. God bless you. It's a brand new day that the Lord has made. We're rejoicing and we're glad in it. The book of 1 Thessalonians 5, verse number 18, in everything, give thanks. We are still thanking him. At least we are alive.
Of course, we're thanking him. We moved from 30,000 naira minimum wage to 70,000 naira. The federal government and Organised Labour finally had an agreement, and now a bill will be sent to the National Assembly. And, we want you to look at the back and forth we went from where the Organised Labour started, 160,000, 250,000 rather, and, we finally have 70,000 naira right now. And, what's your take on this?
I'll tell you this. When the tin of milk was a shilling, I was born in 1963, we were still spending that. There are people that cannot afford to buy milk. You understand? Even if they put it as 500,000, those that will not be able to afford will not be able to afford. But one thing I'm sure of, the book of James, I'm a pastor, I will always go back to the Bible. The book of James, chapter number 5, that verse number 4, the laborer's wages is due to him. So it means if somebody works for you, they are supposed to take what they are supposed to take. But in a situation where we find ourselves, let me tell you, what is going on is not peculiar to Nigeria alone. I'm a well-traveled person. My church started in the United Kingdom, 2007. Now, before in United Kingdom, if you buy electricity and gas of 20 pounds each, for 1 month, it's still there. But I went in May, this past May, I bought 50 pounds of each. Within 2 weeks, I bought twice. It means it's not peculiar to Nigeria alone. Every other week at the United Kingdom, that is where I've lived for about 20 years. So I know the story of the place. Underground workers must go on strike every other week. 1 month max, they must, because the wages is not still enough. So it means no matter what the federal government is paying, it's still not going to match up to. And I always say this, there's no government in any country of the world, America, United Kingdom, anywhere, that can put an end to the problems of the citizens. So where are we going on this? Then we have to cut our clothes according to the cloth that we've got, not according to our size anymore. If the clothing is too small, lose some weight. And that is where we have found ourselves. One thing that is sure, I'm a pastor, go back to the Bible, the book of Ecclesiastes chapter number 3, from that verse number 1. There is time and season for everything under the sun. This time will soon begin. You know where it all started from? Yes, it's been going on since, but COVID, God forbid COVID again. COVID, we were still about, the world was about coming out of COVID. Ukraine and Russia started. And Russia on gas, on diesel, the world knows. You understand? So all this will amount to all this life economy going up, expenses going up. But because we are a developing country, it's going to affect us more. But it's all over the places, all over the world. And I pray at this time that God will just turn around our economy for the best. And that is one of the reasons I'm in Abuja, to do a program, pray that the creator of the whole universe, let me tell you, the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter number 7, that verse number 14, says, if my people that are called by my name will repent their sins and come closer to me, say, I will hear from heaven and I will heal their land. We need the healing of the Lord like never before. Let them put it at 1 million. It's still not going to balance up, because how do we balance this? Let's sit down and look at it. Think about your salary. If you penny for penny, if you calculate it, Jehovah Jireh is your source.
Okay, so I totally understand and I agree with you, some sorts, but the challenge is we've been on this journey for too long. I like the fact that, yes, you said that, we need to pray, There is the school of thought of praying nations who don't have the economic solutions. Yeah. There is the school of thought of non-praying nations who have the economic solutions. How long are we going to continue praying to have the economic solutions?
None of them have got economic solutions.
But to a large extent, to a large extent, the UK you even mentioned, to a large extent, yes, strike goes on and on, but the wages are still a bit more reasonable.
Governments still have
yes, governments still have. They still have packages that are more reasonable.
Yes.
And so if
like free health.
Exactly. So
like
if we're looking at that, if we're looking from that perspective, how long do we have to walk this road before we now see praying and economic solution at the same time?
And those countries, let me tell you about this. Those countries that you say they are not praying. Let me tell you, there's principle of Jesus Christ. There's law of Jesus Christ. The principle of Jesus Christ, give and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, the book of Luke, chapter number 6, verse number 38. Good measure, pressed down, shaking together, running over. Let me tell you, they do charitable things. That is their prayer. See, Bill Gates did $36 billion on charity. And he said it's yet to start. So on that is their praying aspect. Where we need now is that production. Excuse me, you are a graduate. You're still looking for work. Then you know that at the back of your house, there's a little field. Plant anything, vegetable, anything at all. Plant, and then small scale thing. You understand? We have to start to produce. In my church, I'm preaching this. There are a lot of people that are going into this small entrepreneurship. Divine kokoro, divine kulinkuli, divine ogi. They're doing it because you cannot wait. No government of any country is going to put everything to perfection. The United Kingdom now, if you are going on the street, you have to put on just the Apple wristwatch. If you put on any expensive, there's a child that celebrated his birthday. They thought it was the original version of the wristwatch. They killed that child. It was when they took it out of his street that they discovered that it was the fake. On the street of England now, you don't wear expensive jacket. They will tell you, Mom, you can't wear that jacket out. It's going to be problems. So it means it's all over the world. It depends on how well traveled you are. And the road to this is that we should start on production. Agriculture is going to help us a lot. That backyard is wasting away. Plant ewedu. The day you harvest your ewedu will be a little bit cheaper. You might not see it. It's an aura. Like my husband is running a small farm in his hometown now, Odogbolu. We harvested corn last month. The day we harvested corn, that everybody in my compound, we have about 62 of them, the security people and everyone. 62 of us on that corn will be a little bit cheaper. We won't see it. But it will affect the market because we are not going to the market. We are coming from our farm to do this. And the change for Nigeria starts from all of us. We are fond of pointing accusing fingers. I'm not a politician. I'm a preacher of the word of God. But something is this. Your neighbor have got gari. You have got water. Let's put the water and gari together. And then let it soak. Let's do this. But we are just me, and I. And I live my example. I live what I preach. It's my life. I choose to do this. Nobody pushed me into this. What I'm doing tonight in Abuja, everybody that is coming in free. Everything that they are putting on, the t-shirt, the facer, the Bible, I give it for free. As I got to this studio, I've given t-shirt and facer for free. That is what I can give now. There are lots of people that will have Tata t-shirt. As we are giving them, they are changing it. So it's you and I. We will point and point. Okay, who are Nigerians?
You and I.
So it starts from everyone. If we are pointing and pointing, nothing is going to happen. Why are you a broadcaster? Get some little kids. Give them some mentorship. Do something from... Let's know that for my own part, I have done this. I'm a pastor. I have 122 children that I'm sending to private university. That is my own part. God has made me a bridge between the poor and the rich. As they are blessing me, I'm blessing the less privileged. There is no how in a month that I'm not going to cook food for free in my church. And that is for my own part. So other people, let's come. This is our country. We've got no other place that we can call ours except this great country. As far as I'm concerned, Nigeria is God's own country. And this is how I want to see this. And there is no how you will say negative thing about this country in my presence and you go scot-free. I'm going to make sure I say positive things. So let's begin to say positive and positive and positive. Americans say, America, God's own country. They love their country with passion. Let's fall in love with Nigeria again. I'm in love with this country. No matter what is happening, all those countries, they have gone through their own before. Rome was not built in a day. You imagine America, in their police station, they were selling drugs before. And then they put all their might and their wealth on drug, chasing out whosoever. They are not there yet. Because on the streets of Canada now, they are selling cannabis in some states. But still, they are moving towards it. It started from every one of them. Let's fall in love again with this country.
Right, very important. I mean that we conscientize people also to fall in love with Nigeria again and contribute their bits. But there's still that big elephant in the room, the big question.
Yes.
Can states and private sector pay this 70,000 naira? Bearing in mind that even the 30,000 naira we're coming from, many states could still not pay.
That is where it comes from. We are the handwork of God of the 60. It's our creator that will go back to. Excuse me. These have left the hand of human. It has returned to our creator and we have to face him. Give us wisdom. Solomon asked for wisdom. He asked for understanding that these huge people, I cannot rule them by my mind. I'm my pastor. I will always go to the book.
All right, but while we go back to God, while we're counting on
genuinely,
God, genuinely, we're looking at the allocations the state governments have. We're looking at the IGRs that they've raised.
Yes.
Is it not possible? Because they kept on shouting, even at 60,000, they were saying, and then also bearing in mind that, yeah, even at 30 they could not pay. But we're saying genuinely, if they really want to pay, is it not possible that the states can afford 70,000 naira?
It is possible. Let me tell you. I don't know which country in Africa is it now that they were cutting on what the government is using. That's, I'm traveling. All of you are going after with me. One person, two persons, they are okay. Let's go. We are not going to buy this type of car. We are going to, you know, there are certain expenses, there are certain luxury as well that from the federal government that they will have to cut down on. And that is coming out genuine. Without that, I'm traveling. How many entourage? I don't want this, that is some money. Be safe in that aspect. And then I was saying it. Let the subsidy be on food. Tinubu meat, Tinubu chicken, Tinubu rice. There will be some satanic people that want to go against it and be sabotaging it. But let's flood it and disgrace them. Subsidy on it. Because United Kingdom now, there are certain food that has gone beyond average person to buy. In 2004, when I got to the United Kingdom, there is bread of 40 pence. There's bread of 60 pence. Now, the smallest bread is £2.45. It's coming up. But they are trying to subsidize in other areas, like the school. Even if you don't have dinner money for your kids, there are forms you will fill. And then you will go on, and the government will be supplying your children. All those areas, God will give them the wisdom to go into it, because most of them, Baba Bola Ahmed Tinubu is well-traveled. And he's a bold and courageous person. I know if he wants to do it, he can do it. He just needs to close his eyes and say, look, I want to move. His wife was speaking during the interdenominational service at the Economical Center. She said, we are wealthy. We just want to come and serve this country. The power to actually serve, God will pour it upon them and him. You understand? We need this at this time. They can pay it if they put all their might and cut down on expenses that is related to the people that are ruling.
Well, just in 30 seconds, if you can help me answer this. While I agree with you, prayer, and let's pray so that all of this will come together. What should the government do to also, while the people are sacrificing, what should they do to
cut down on their expenses as well? Maybe slide their salaries into half.
Thank you very much. And that is, of course, that's what we'll put it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Reverend Esther Ajayi.
Thank you.
Thank
really,
you.
really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And good luck on your program today.
Yes, it's going to be super, super glorious. Come. Membo, National Stadium, 7 p.m. all through the night.
All right.
Sunday at the Christian Center, 2 p.m. Obasanjo preaching.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, we'll go on a break. When we come back, we'll go straight to headline news. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back.
Life is politics. In Nigeria, almost every part of our lives is touched by the politics we play. Governance, legislative matters, the economy, security, foreign affairs, internal affairs. Have a feel as strategic plays in the political space determine how we live in Nigeria. The players, the drama, chess piece moves. Be kept informed. Watch analysis of major happenings in the political space and how it affects you. Watch Politics on Sunday.
Our planet, our home, threatened by man's activities with fears of mass extinction on the rise. On Green Angle, we examine the issues that affect our environment, seek solutions to put us on track to secure and restore a cleaner and greener world for generations to come. Our planet, our home, threatened by man's activities with fears of mass extinction on the rise. On Green Angle, we examine the issues that affect
informed. Watch analysis of major happenings in the political space and how it affects you. Watch Politics on Sunday. Life is...
And the federal government have agreed to the new national minimum wage at 70,000 for Nigerian workers, promising to review the national minimum wage law every 3 years.
And of course, a bill for an act to establish local government electoral commission skills at first reading in the Senate.
The Nigerian Senate approved the second reading of an amendment to the 2024 Appropriation Act amounting to 6.2 trillion naira in capital and recurrent expenditures for the fiscal year.
And the Minister of Education, Tari Mahaman, has granted approval for the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board and Nigerian tertiary institutions to admit candidates at NAH this year after vowing to enforce a law mandating admission age for entry into tertiary institutions at 18 years.
Côte d'Ivoire has introduced a second malaria vaccine, R21 malaria vaccine, into its expanded immunization program following Cameroon's introduction 6 months ago. 15 African nations plan to begin administering one of the two malaria vaccines this year with support of Gavi Alliance.
And of course, outside Nigeria, after months of intense debates and international pressure, Gambia lawmakers have decided to keep the 2015 ban on female genital mutilation. They have rejected a controversial bill that sought to overturn the current law.
President Joe Biden is isolating at his beach home in Delaware after testing positive for COVID-19 during campaign events in Las Vegas. The White House will continue to carry out his presidential duties while in isolation, as he's presently experiencing only mild symptoms.
I wish him quick recovery.
God be with him.
Yeah.
Now, God was on my side. Words coming from Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump as he narrates his experience during the assassination attempt for the first time since the event. The former president had a solemn moment during the final night of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
The World Youth Skills Day is celebrated to mention the significance of developing skills among young people worldwide. This year's theme, Youth Skills for Peace and Development, highlights the essential role that teachers, trainers, and other educators play in providing skills for youth to transition to the labor market and to actively engage in their communities and societies.
World Youth Skills Day aims to raise awareness among the need to equip young people with skills for employability, entrepreneurship, and self-employment. The day provides an opportunity for young people to showcase their skills, talents, and creativity, and encourages them to participate in skills competitions, career fairs, and training sessions.
And joining us live is the skills advocate and public affairs analyst, Oluwakemi Ashepi.
A very good morning to you, and thank you. I like the way you call my name. It's only when I get into trouble my dad calls me that way. It's a pleasure to be here. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Okay, so let's just move straight to it. Equipping youth is a very important tool for any nation.
Absolutely.
And that is what, of course, Nigeria is probably just going into. How should we contribute to equip our youth positively to build a nation?
Well, I think if we start first with the fact that the youth themselves must be interested in acquiring those skills, right? Because it's one thing you want to equip the youth, it's another thing for the youth to be interested in wanting to acquire those skills. One of the most important things that we must understand is, let me start with what the Yorubas say. I'm Yoruba, by the way, right? The Yorubas will say that atelewo enikin tonije. That is what you do with your hands, what you do with your skills, you know, will never disappoint you. There will be a day, you know, regardless of whatever education you may have acquired, that you would need to do something with the skills you've been given. And the very good thing about it is there is no one who doesn't have a skill they can deploy, they can sharpen, they can make better, and, you know, become the best at whatever it is. So I think most importantly, what we should be talking about now is young people getting interested in acquiring those skills. Young people understanding that they can polish whatever skills that they gain, and that in years to come, those skills will be available for them. Just before I came on the program, I was taking a look at the lives of some of those who have acquired skills in the past. You know, Thomas Edison was 21. Now, I'm going to try not to mix up the ages, right? Yeah. But I looked at Thomas Edison. I looked at even our own Professor Wole Soyinka, right? They were all in their 20s. Steve Jobs was just 21 when he, you know, went with that initiative. There is, and I would go with another Yoruba proverb if you let me.
Yes, go on.
They say that omotoba shikpa niyengbe. That is, it is that child who raises his hands that the parents can carry, right? So what that means is even the youths themselves must understand that they must go on that limb. Then there will be the possibility to be assisted by whoever is around them. Right. So I think that more than anything else, rather than looking at dependency or, you know, dependent on what people will hand over to you as a youth, you know, youth have energy, they have vitality, they have stamina, they have everything it takes to change whatever it is they're looking at. So as a youth, you have to go on that limb, with that initiative to acquire whatever it is you have interest in. And the internet is a beautiful place to do that. You know, at the time when we were growing up, I had to queue beside my father's computer to hold on for him to finish his work, right? So that I could get on the computer. But today, every youth, virtually most youths or all youths that, you know, need skills have a phone. And that means that they're connected to the internet. Whatever you are seeking, you can find. The challenge we're having is that many youths prioritize entertainment above education. And there is edutainment, so we can marry it.
Okay, so but now I'm looking at it from the point of view of, you know, our orientation as a people. Yeah. Because, so there's something that, you know, I'm always very concerned about. For example, the washing machine came about because someone thought, you know,
absolutely,
yeah, like, so is there a way to make things easier? And then, okay, so make a washing machine, make a dishwasher, make an airplane to fly. But growing up, we had what we called handwork, and for most people, it was just all about, you know, maybe they say make a broom. The idea was for you to use the palm fronds, but over time it was buy the broom and bring, buy the cutlass and bring. So we weren't really encouraged to try to fix things. Now, do you think that we can get to a level where we have that orientation very common, that parents encourage children to find a skill,
okay,
and then we can now start talking about effectively harnessing and supporting it.
Do I think we will get to that situation?
Yes. How do
I think that parenting in this age is a very difficult task to take because you're competing with so many other things. I say something to my son and he's checking on ChatGPT and I'm saying, hey, behave yourself, you know. I should know I'm the parent, but then we have to argue it out, right? However, I think that this is one of the best times to live in the world, because it means that if you don't have a parent, you can parent yourself if you find the right type of information on the internet, right? So I think that what we may need to do is to restructure how our education is fashioned. And I was glad to be at the policy meeting 2 or 3 days ago for JAM, where the Honorable Minister for Education was talking about them restructuring the curriculum to include skills, you know, acquisition and all of that. But I think that some of the most important things we will need to do is that orientation to encourage young people to think outside the box. Whoever thought about the washing machine thought about it because he probably hated to wash. And most of the time, to find that thing that you like to do is usually what you hate, or find how to make things easier. I think it's Bill Gates that said it, that he usually employs people who are quote unquote lazy because they usually find an easier way to do the job, right? So what I will say is, yes, we need a reorientation. Yes, we need a resetting of the mindset of the young people, right? Today, young people have so much to consume online that they're not even looking at it. The time is going. What am I acquiring from this? And whatever you give your time to, you give your life to, because you're not going to get 24 hours later, right? Everybody, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, name it, all have 24 hours. And I must say here that for young people, I think one of the most important things to do is study the lives of those who have succeeded. It will interest you to know that Elon Musk may be one of the richest men in the world today. I don't know who's number one on the list now, right? But he used to mill lumber at a lumber mill, right? And I think a bit of plumbing too when he got to Canada, right? One of the things we need to encourage our youth to see is that there's something called value stacking. There are skills to learn and to acquire. And regardless of where you find yourself as we speak, as a young person, if you will give it your best shot, and if you will be the best at it, then there will be space created for you somewhere in the horizon.
You know, so my question is, you mentioned all of those people, great guys.
Absolutely.
But there's an atmosphere that was created. They have also,
okay, go ahead.
There's an atmosphere that was created. You know, you have the skill, the government of the police have a way of supporting your skill.
Okay.
Whether you like it or whether you want to have that conversation or not.
We'll have it.
We'll have it. So I like the fact that, yeah, you can have the skill and all that. But there's also the place where the conversation now starts. The environment at which you now have that skill.
Okay.
How do we harness that skill to make it more potential, viable for the world to see? Are we ready to actually have that conversation?
Yes. Let me start by saying the environment, right? Over the years and in time past, people always want to blame the environment they find themselves in. And the truth about it is it's always easy, and easier actually, to see the cup as half empty rather than half full. It takes a lot for you to decide, I'm going uphill, you know, I am going to choose to see things differently from the way others are seeing. And the truth about it is, if you choose to see things the way others are seeing it, you would only produce the kind of results others are producing. And that's where the mob crowd mentality comes in. So it's easier to step out from the crowd, take away from the environment, and say to yourself, okay, this is the environment I have with me. What can I do with what I have? And I'll tell you something. At the time Thomas Edison created the light bulb, there was no light in America. So where was the environment? Right? There are 1,001 reasons not to blame the environment. But you must ask yourself, okay, if this is what I have as an environment, what can I contribute to it? You understand? What can I do, differently? What can I ensure that despite my environment, despite this environment, I'm sure you know Tunde Onokoya. Tunde Onokoya has a quote on his Twitter handle. And a big shout out to all my Twitter followers, because I did tell them I'll be here. All right. Tunde Onokoya has something on his handle where he says, we can all do great things from a small place. And I think that's the most important thing to always remember, that regardless of where you are and regardless of how you feel about what you feel, we can do great things, from a small place. And I'd leave Tunde Onokoya for a moment, right? There's also the young man who started Nord Motors. I ran into him in Sheraton sometime in Abuja recently, and he was saying to me, I did an interview, nothing, and I asked him, how did you start? And he spoke about how he used all his money to start, how he lost all that money. Now, this is the same environment we're talking about, and how his integrity, quote and unquote, which is the one thing that we lack, and it's not the environment, how his integrity got the banks to support him, and how he's been able to prove, to the financiers that they can give him his money, they can give him their money. That's a Nigerian. I think he's below 40, right? The CEO of Nord Motors. His name skips my mind now. Besides that, online, I do know of several people who are offering free skills acquisition. There's a guy called Agba King at King's Official, right? I also wanted to enroll in his class for computer to learn something on programming and all of that. Incidentally, I decided I'll stay where I am. So these things are there. It depends on what you're looking for. You cannot find what you are not looking for. That's the way it is.
All right. Okay. So now this brings me also to something else that gets me worried sometimes. Okay. So we've had slogans of what do we say? Not too young to run. Yeah. And then given sometimes some of these young people maybe that people have backed haven't really made that case or giving us reason the next time to say that it's not too young to run. But eventually we're going to have young people that will rule the country. And we've talked about unity. It's been on the front burner for a long time. Absolutely. And I'm wondering, is there a time where we can get to when we can actually, bring the youth to put their energy that they use in maybe making some of these arguments on social media together to actually change that narrative about how they intend to rule this country to be a producing nation, solving our own problems by ourselves. Okay, so I was speaking with a 70-plus-year-old man who used to be a comrade at arms at Unilag and got expelled before he was brought in yesterday. And he said to me, many of the things I did, when I was in school back then, if I know what I know now, I would never have done them. And I would have taken another approach. And that's a big shout out to Alhaji Najim Jimo, who is one of my mentors, so to speak. He's also a journalist, And that tells you that one of the greatest challenges of youth is that excessive energy. However, it can be channeled. You see, for anybody who's been young, who's been passionate about anything, there have been those periods in your life when you were much younger. Like when I was much younger, I was very passionate about changing Nigeria. But I realized that there are, and well, I'm not that old though, but I realized that, you see, the cutting off the head will never be the solution to a headache. There are ways to go about it. So yes, you're not young to run, but what value are you bringing to the table now? What are you doing now? To prepare for the future. They say that the only way to predict the future is to create it, right? Yesterday I was anchoring an event for the AFCTA and all of that. And it turned out that some of the things that were said on that stage are so germane for the future of Nigeria and for the future of Africa. There were so many things that included how Nigeria can plug in. And that's why I took my time to, say shout out to our King's Official, because I know he daily encourages people to take up tech skills and he teaches them for free, right? Now, what
are you doing? It said that in 2035, for example...
Can we just wrap up in like 30 seconds?
Yes, we'll do that. In 2035, for example, right, the US, Russia, and one other country will be needing about 6 million tech jobs per country. So the question is, how are you, as a young person, preparing for that? You have the phone, you have the internet, you can make that difference. It's up to you. My name is Kemi Ashiko. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kemi.
What an interesting conversation. All right, we'll go on a break. When we'll come back, entertainment and sports. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Life is politics. In Nigeria, almost every part of our lives is touched by the politics we play. Governance, legislative matters, the economy, security, foreign affairs, internal affairs. Have a feel as strategic plays in the political space determine how we live in Nigeria. The players, the drama, chess piece moves. Be kept informed. Watch analysis of major happenings in the political space and how it affects you. Watch Politics on Sunday.
Our planet, our home, threatened by man's activities with fears of mass extinction on the rise. On Green Angle, we examine the issues that affect our environment, seek solutions to put us on track to secure and restore a cleaner and greener world for generations to come.
We'll move straight to entertainment now. The movie Shino has remained one of the top 10 most streamed movies in Nigeria since its release on June 14, 2024. It currently sits in the 9th spot in this new ranking. This accomplishment highlights the film's strong appeal with the Nigerian audience, a key maker that has contributed to its visibility and success on the platform, which is Timini Egnuson as its executive producer and lead actor.
Well, the guy is rising, and also renowned singer Keys Daniel has caused a stir on social media with a controversial post about relationships and breakups. The post, which has since been deleted, has left many of his fans and followers speculating about the status of his marriage. According to reports, neither Keys Daniel nor his wife has confirmed having challenges in their marriage.
I just want to believe it's a rumor.
With Afrobeat's fast-rising global popularity, more international stars from the US and Europe are collaborating with Nigerian artists and making Afrobeats-inspired music. One of the international acts who has expressed their fascination with Nigerian and African music is American rapper Rick Ross, who has continued to restate his desire to make an African-themed album. Rick Ross has an upcoming collaboration with award-winning rapper Black Bones.
And Tyler Perry's latest film, Divorce in the Black, has hit the streaming world, but seems to be struggling to win over critics. The film, which premiered on Prime Video on July 11th, has received a dismal 0% score from critics on Rotten Tomatoes. Despite the harsh reviews from critics, the audience score tells a different story, standing at more favorable 71% based on over 250 ratings.
All right, our fashion show has opened up to seek support and showcase the ability of children living with disabilities. The children participated to showcase various outfits from their diverse cultures across the country as to the societies embracing children with disabilities.
Parents of these special children were on one hand cheered and support them as they walked down the runway in their native attires. Through fashion show, Nigerians have been urged to embrace children with disabilities. As parents use this opportunity to encourage societies and the government to support and create an inclusive environment with disabilities. All right, join us to speak more on the highlights of the African Fashion Show is the Vice Chairperson of the Board of Engrace One's Gbemisola Alade. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you very much.
Interesting to have you on the show.
Thanks so much.
So we just look at it. We have just little time, so that
yes,
we
of course.
Now, looked something really fun for the kids, of course.
Yeah.
What's the idea about this? Why all this?
Thank you very much for having me on. One of the reasons for this is to make the children feel they are part of the society and they are not left out of any event or any program or whatever is going on around. So fashion show for children also, they can be included. Our slogan this year is inclusion. They must be included in whatever is going on in the society so that they are not regarded as if they don't fit in. And actually that they can also, it can boost their self-esteem, and at some time it helps their mental, their cognitive abilities are quickened by interacting with other children or participating in events that attracts crowd.
All right, so this is quite interesting because already we know that, because of their special needs, sometimes it makes them to recline in the society.
Yes, exactly.
But then also, having even to do anything with children is very stressful.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, having to do with children with special needs,
yes.
How challenging was this
Oh,
organizing?
it can be. It can be. If you watch this video, you watch one of them after coaching, grooming them. When they ask him to move, you find that like you're watching Ugo and the mom and Isioma now. You understand? Getting them to coordinate their abilities, to get them to, look at that is Abdul. You understand? To get them to get into line and do something. If you watch a Kenya at one time, instead of going forward, they started to. So it takes expertise, it takes patience to make them. I am a parent of a special needs child, but it took me bringing her up until she got it. She's 23 and she's in the university. And she's reading science, and she's reading microbiology. But it took patience. We had to allow her to grow at her pace, meet her milestones when she makes it, not running with other children. So it takes a lot of patience, understanding, and getting to know what is actually needful in the life of the children.
We talk about inclusion
a lot.
A lot,
yeah.
In women to men inclusion. But we talk about inclusion a lot, and I think that even in school we still have to talk about inclusion. How do you think that we can continue to achieve this, knowing that children of special needs,
not just children, everybody, special needs.
Yeah, special needs, most especially special needs. Why? Because they really need to be in the society, be felt in the society.
Yeah.
How do we need to have that conversation to continue to keep them together in the society?
In our drive and our advocacy, that's why you said that we're an advocacy group, is to move schools, government, individuals, private, non-governmental institutions to embrace it. We start with schools. Like we started a school initially, the School of Grace for children with special needs. So we started moving them to the Grace Lane Miracle School, which is an inclusive school. That is how we graduate them. As we see them improve at one level or the other, we move them to the next level. Like I told you I did with my daughter. So we had to you have to push government, you have to put individuals, and especially parents. Most parents don't understand why, because of stigma, they want to keep the children away. For this program, when we had some parents to come out and actually come out with the children, some of them would not. They said, no, don't just take them. But so our drive is to make people realize that, bring them out, forget about stigma, which we are advocating against, as you see. Can you see what I'm wearing?
Yeah.
Yes, you should not discriminate against them. We're trying to tell people don't discriminate against them. And then we start educating the public. Children like them also, typical children, that's why we talk about the inclusion. They leave school together for them to understand them.
All right. So presently, do you think that we have, much of social support in the country? Because when you go to advanced places, you find maybe on the main roads there are tracks specifically for persons with disabilities.
Yes.
Yeah, the traffic lights have places for them to press, have sounds. So do you think that we currently in Nigeria we have achieved that support, social support for them?
Oh, certainly not. It is very, very lacking. It is very, very minimal. I say about 0.something%. We are now trying to reach out. Thank God we met with the chairman, House Committee on Disability. We're trying to get them to put that on. You know that after some time they started including in buildings, ramps, things, such things for people with disabilities. But especially for special needs children, we're asking that such things be made so that it will, for those that can still have visual, they can still see, those who can still hear, because some of them might have such impediments also. Those that can have speech impediments, things that will guide them in society. But it's still lacking, but we are pushing for it until the public is aware of the need for this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
You're
very much
welcome.
for joining
Thank
us.
you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Yeah.
And moving on to sports, former Super Eagles goalkeeper and captain Vincent Inyama has proudly announced that his son has joined Lille's under-18 team. SoccerNet's NG reports the former Nigerian international who had an outstanding career with LOSC Lille took to social media to celebrate this significant milestone, expressing his gratitude and joy.
Now, Inyama's legacy is poised to continue as his son steps into the spotlight with Lille's under-18 team. Sharing clips of his son goalkeeping prowess, Inyama's pride was palpable. Interesting. That's
very interesting, and of course that's how we end for the show today.
Thank you very much for joining us.
And you are Demola Lawrence. I am Jane Francis Mweze. Do have a lovely weekend.
I will see you next week. Bye for now.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello.